You know, I really am tired. I'm tired. I'm fatigued, specifically as it pertains to the nonstop surround sound rage machine that is Fox News, our entire political discussion, and fueled by lots of entities across the political spectrum, but disproportionately by what I describe as MAGA media. And I don't understand how you go into work every day, you look at yourself in the mirror, and you say, today, no matter what happens, no matter what facts are handed to me, I'm going to bend them to make people the most angry, the most hateful, and specifically directing that towards Joe Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, for political purposes. Even going as far as to exploit natural disasters. Hurricane Helene, we talked about in a different segment. The impact of that has been just absolutely devastating. And Trump already jumped into action, visiting Georgia and blaming Biden for a delayed response when there wasn't a delayed response. Blaming him for not taking the phone calls of Brian Kemp when Brian Kemp had already clarified that Biden was actively engaging with Kemp and getting everything necessary to the people of Georgia and other states. And so, even on something like that, Fox News doesn't stop. And they've spent a bunch of time doing this news cycle about lies like the one that Trump was telling, that somehow Biden was on the beach and Harris was at a fundraiser while citizens were being killed and communities ravaged by Hurricane Helene, even though those claims are absolutely baseless by MAGA. Well, as annoying as that was, if you tune in long enough to Fox News, as we have to do for some reason for this crazy job, you might get the blessing of a Jessica Tarlov, who comes in and clarifies all of that as her co-hosts have to listen.
Jessica, how do you see it? Dramatically differently from how my colleagues see it. So just a couple notes. Trump closes strong in Georgia. He lost Georgia. So I guess if someone had found him 11,237 votes, it would have gone better, but he's a loser there.
I meant by campaign activity.
Oh, he shows up a lot and people see him and then they vote against him. Starlink, there are 40 satellites that are already going. Okay. In Maui, by the way, the $700 was the FEMA limit. So Donald Trump and his supporters are running the same old tired playbook that they did with Maui and they did with East Palestine. So not only was Joe Biden on top of this, he signed the disaster declarations even before the storms hit to make sure that there would be no delay in goods and services. Donald Trump's social media posts contain blatant lies, like Governor Kemp can't reach the president. Governor Kemp gave a press conference yesterday where he said, I just spoke to the...
Look at how grumpy they all look whenever they're just having facts explained to them. Look at these two. And Jesse, you know, truth is more important than your political talking points. You know that, right? Ugh. If you enjoy this show, please do click that subscribe button. Easy, free, simple, but makes all the difference. Back to the video.
Yesterday, where he said, I just spoke to the president. He has promised me every single thing that I need. McMaster from South Carolina, also a conservative, getting everything that he wants, and then Roy Cooper as well. And there's only one president that we are talking about who actually has denied relief for one of these states. In 2017, Roy Cooper asked after Hurricane Matthew for a lot of money, and he got 1% of his ask. They denied 99% of what he was asking for after that hurricane came. There are 3,300 FEMA personnel there, 5,500 National Guardsmen from 11 states, and search and rescue from 19 states. That doesn't reduce the devastation of this and how horrific it is, but to say that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are out to lunch during this, or they're sitting on a beach reclining there, they are clearly giving them what they need. They will be showing up when it is appropriate. And it's different for Donald Trump, who is not in office. He's just a guy trying to be president again, to show up and throw some bounty at people, versus someone who's actually the commander in chief and doesn't want to distract from what's going on. And as Dana said, Governor Cooper said, I will let you know when it is appropriate for you to come. And same goes for Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, all of it.
Tennessee also.
So I mentioned this in the other segment, but it's a big knee-jerk MAGA thing that they only do whenever a Democrat's in power. But if all of their talking points fail in trying to politicize a tragedy, in this case, it's Hurricane Helene. We saw, as Jessica Tarlov listed off, in East Palestine with the train derailment, in Maui with wildfires. We heard this exact same, she described it as a old tired playbook, this exact same line of arguments, which whenever you see before the facts are even clear on something, a bold proclamation being made like Biden's delayed the response whenever it was actually immediate and preemptive even, you know someone's probably just, they've written out a tweet regardless of what's going to happen and they're going to send that thing no matter what develops. And so when the Brian Kemp point about Brian Kemp can't get a hold of Biden, but before you even said that, Kemp said at a press conference the opposite. When the delayed talking points fail, the last one they fall back onto is, well, there's actually two last ones. The second one I'll get to in a second. But the first one is, well, I blame Biden and Harris for everything because they're not there right now. They're not in person at one of the sites of a ravaged community that was ripped apart by Hurricane Helene. That will be their next one. And they said a similar thing about Maui, etc. But see, when you're the sitting president and the sitting vice president, the type of logistical headache it creates for any community whenever you travel there, the security implications, the hubbub, the press, you actually, if you immediately, as people are just trying to get step 1 and 2 of recovering underway, you can actually take away from the focus, which needs to be fully on those initial relief efforts. And then, as was said, when appropriate, a visit can happen. The second talking point is sometimes they'll just start comparing how much money and relief efforts will be going towards Hurricane Helene or a different tragedy that we've talked about before compared to how much money was sent to this military operation or how much money was sent. That is a game that just gets really, really, really meaningless really quick, because what we need to talk about is what is needed and is that being fulfilled. Just big, lines of addition that you've added up a bunch of things that we've spent on other stuff, and then you're saying that's more than this, without any context for what the two things are and what types of resources are needed and what's the timetable, etc. It's just a political point, which again shows me your priorities are all wrong. Can we not be a little extra mindful whenever something horrific happens like this about jumping right into the politicization? But Trump wasted absolutely no time. So then we have to respond. We got to fact check. Otherwise, the lies are the only things out there. Also on this edition of The Five, you had some talk of masculinity. Jesse Waters is really obsessed with Tim Walz's masculinity, or he'd say lack thereof.
Appeal to young men. So they're trying to use Walz like that. And men just look at another man and you can kind of know if he's an athlete. Kind of look at the way he can go down the stairs or throw something, catch a lighter, just maneuver his body in that way. You look at this guy. I've never even seen him throw a football. He goes to a game, doesn't throw a football. Never seen him hit a golf ball. I've never seen him really do anything athletic. Meanwhile, I've seen Trump hit a tennis ball, hit a golf ball, throw a football, catch a baseball. I've seen him do all of that. So there's a lot of mystery around Walz. We don't really know if he's even a good shot. I mean, I know Trump's sons are good shots. They're better shots than some of the Secret Service agents.
Are you talking about when they kill all the endangered wildlife?
No, I'm talking about sharpshooting. Appeal to young men.
And I know you think this is just him doing humor, which it is, him trying to sort of, but he keeps coming back to this, and he said that's not a man's man, or whatever his language was. And Don Jr. said in a very serious way, we're not threatened by Tim Walz's masculinity. Okay, why are you saying that? Who thinks you're threatened by Tim Walz's masculinity? Or Jesse Waters, sort of, when you vote for a woman, you become a woman, he said. He clearly has a weird relationship with maybe his own masculinity. I don't know his story, but definitely trying to sell Tim Walz as something that either he's not, or that I honestly support Jesse Waters targeting Tim Walz for not being enough of a man, because that's the weakest argument you're ever going to hear. And I like when they make weak arguments because it will be advantageous electorally. But here you have, I think, Jessica Tarlov making the next point I want to make, which is, if all these claims by Fox News are so true about Tim Walz being the worst, why is he so much more popular than your guy?
Some kid. I mean, he's not a.
I know you don't like him, but you can't change the fact that he
Change
is
what
running.
fact?
Well, let me finish my sentence, and then
Go
I'll
ahead.
tell you that he is running to be vice president, that he has the highest favorability of anyone on either ticket. And you continuing to demean him and call him assistant coach Walz and say he's stolen valor and he's a loser and he doesn't know about clean air.
Who hugs a mascot like that, Jessica? He embraced the mascot like it was his mother.
We've all seen you use a straw.
Who puts
There is footage of you using a straw. Your
Yeah, but-
masculinity shtick.
Why do they
That
call
was
him?
for television. I
of your
don't use
lipstick?
straws in my private life.
Yeah, Jesse Waters has said that men aren't supposed to suck out of straws because it looks feminine or something. Imagine walking around with that many rules for yourself. And then one day, your daddy will tell you you're a big boy, Jesse, because you didn't suck out of a straw. Yeah, it's interesting how Fox News will cite opinion polling on things that they spend 24/7 pushing propaganda about and go, see, this is what the American people said, so you can argue with it. For example, they push a false idea that Republicans are better for the economy than Democrats, even though over the last 100 years, the exact opposite trend has been so utterly and completely demonstrated again and again and again. It's impossible to argue with that. By all the economic metrics we traditionally use, Democrats yield better economic performance, but they push all day long false ideas like that one. Then they'll cite opinion polls and go, but look, Trump's favored on the economy compared to Harris. Never doing any introspection about, I wonder why people are misinformed on that subject or others, like crime. The majority of Americans think crime's going up when it's way, way down. And then Fox goes, it must be up because so many people think it's up. But you convinced them of that, you goobers. So no, we're not going to buy that. But then they don't find themselves excited about analyzing opinion polls when it's about subjects that they disagree with, like Tim Walz's popularity. If all the things you're saying, Jesse, if Tim Walz is so off-putting to men, to manly men with hairy chests, if Tim Walz is so unlikable, so creepy that they're saying, no, he's the real one. Why does he wave like that? Why does he smile like that? Why does he grab his heart like that? Blah, blah, blah. If all that's true, why is he so much more popular than anyone running in this general election? Of the four, he's the most popular polling-wise by a long shot. And if you just compare him to his counterpart, J.D. Vance, it's like in the probably 20s of a difference. Because Walz has a super positive in the teens, I think, net favorable. Am I right on that? It's net favorable, which is good in American politics right now. Harris's, by some metrics, has also gone above net favorable. And then you have net unfavorable with both Trump and Vance. But Vance is documented as the least popular vice presidential running mate in the history of that being tracked. Maybe Fox hosts, you take Jessica Tarlov's advice and you grapple with why the guy that you're supporting is just the most unpopular. But they won't. Let me know what you thought in the comments.